Hi, kids.
Woo!
Hey. How are you?
All right.
Well, we're not as good looking as the girls, but the next best thing. So here we are. This is our new book. It's called Kiss Monster for obvious reasons, because it's not really a coffee table book, it's a coffee table with legs on it. But it really celebrates and glorifies the last 40 years of the band, and it needed to be big, size counts, and this book is something special. It's not for everybody. It's expensive, but one size doesn't fit all with Kiss, and just like there's people who have the front row seats, this is a book for people who can afford it. It's an art book, so to speak, and limited edition, and we're very, very proud of it. We show it to them?
Would you like to see it? Yeah, that's it. Ta-da!
This is the American edition. Tom, tell them about it.
We have 10 different editions for each of the biggest countries that we tour in, and each one is a limited edition. The book is handmade, one at a time, and there's 10 different editions. Obviously, U.S. edition here, but we have each edition. The flag of that country is featured on the cover. And if you open it, I don't know if we can open it, but each book is dedicated to the Kiss Army of that particular country. And we've hand-signed and numbered and dated each edition. So
Okay, I'm going to try to just to get
we should try to open it.
There you go. This thing weighs almost 50 pounds, which is why it's difficult to. Let's just be careful.
The Torah.
It's all right.
The Talmud.
Your kids, you can do anything.
No, just that front page to show them. Eric used to be in the photo, but
There you go. That's
So there's,
This is the dedication page.
Oh, that's neat.
Hold that, Eric.
there, we couldn't do this obviously without the band, so this book is as much about them as it is about us, because in spite of all the people and the naysayers who said we would never make it past our first year, we're in our 40th. And we haven't only survived, we've thrived. We're out on tour now on what we humbly call the tour. And us and Motley Crue are going cross country and getting everybody's bang for buck and rock and roll the way it's supposed to be done. So we're not modest, we're proud. Go ahead, Eric. We own the book, we can fuck it up.
You gonna buy that one?
just it's worth repeating. We said it in the last interview, and it's worth repeating. Sometimes people lose sight of the fact they see all the fun and the games and the toys and and the big shows and all that. It really begins with a song. It did back almost 40 years ago, and it is today. This monster book is a celebration of the songs that began the stage show that became the legend that is Kiss. And don't kid yourself, we are legends.
Coinciding with the book, we also have Monster, the album. And I've lost track of how many albums we've done, but I think we're more proud of this one than probably most of the others we've done. We tried this time not to make a great Kiss album, we tried to make a great rock album that would stand up to all the albums that inspired us. It was done analog, it was a series of first and second takes. The trouble with technology is you wind up trying to get perfection at the price of passion. Motown didn't record that way, James Brown didn't record that way, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Stones, all our heroes. So we did this album analog. We spent some of the best months of our career doing this album. We're very proud of it, and you will love it.
And it's got a great feel, and it's produced by Paul Stanley. All the songs written by the four of us. No outside writers, no agenda with power ballads or radio songs. Just rock and roll, pure and simple from start to finish.
I'm gonna close it, I'm getting tired of holding it.
You have a favorite page?
Recorded before or after your surgery?
It was
We
recorded.
had a sex change.
Yeah.
Before or after the surgery?
I had my penis made smaller.
You had to make it smaller?
Yeah.
He's trying to
It
get
was actually
to
done-
match James.
Which,
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, okay. I see.
it was actually done during the course of that, and I took a break for a while from singing. But it didn't stop what we were doing in the studio or when we were writing. We wrote the album mostly at my house, and you know, I don't think we can say enough good things about it, but the music will speak for itself. It's a classic album, not just a classic Kiss album. It's one of those albums that I listen to, and if it was the band's first album, I would want it.
All the performances on the record, vocals, guitars, drums, everything is stellar. It's really top grade all the way. We're really proud of it.
Thanks.
How about questions? You guys don't just take photos,
Yeah.
you can actually talk.
What made you to decide to use the same printing press as the Vatican? Was it because of the size or what?
We got a deal on holy water.
Because
Does that make
it's always does, this is the best. And they are, the leather, the Italians are known for great craftsmanship with leather goods, and that's where it's made in Italy.
Each edition is handmade, hand-bound, one at a time.
Will there ever be a smaller version?
Find it.
It'll be
Like
called,
Kiss Midget?
this is called Kiss Monster, that'll be called Kiss Midget.
In all seriousness, and I learned this from Tommy, who spent most of the time babysitting this project from the beginning, so he's the guy that lifted all the heavy weight. Each book, because of its weight, has to be there's a binding process that's different than other books. So physically, the person has to be there and make sure so that the weight doesn't sort of dilute the pages so they stick in the book. So it's a very, very high quality product, and we're very proud of it.
We understand it's not for everybody, but it wouldn't be fair to the people who can afford it and will appreciate it to not put it out. It's something that is for a select few. And
Any connection to the energy drink, Monster?
No, they wanted to use Monster, and we said it was okay.
After the two previous history books, which were amazing, how much time and energy Tommy and the rest of you put into putting all these great photos together for a Monster book?
Well, it was nice of Gene to say what he said. I did spearhead it to a certain extent, but it was really a band project. Everybody was there helping throw their 2 cents in and picking the greatest photos that we could find that would look great in the book. So we really did it together.
we're fortunate because we own an amazing catalog of photos, videos. Most of the things that you see on TV, whenever you see network TV showing Kiss footage, they come to us for it. We've got a vast library, and the photos that we have in our archives are unbelievable. So this is not even a smattering. This is a fragment of what it is. We started out by making sure I looked good.
I think we wanted to find the most dramatic photos that we could find that really captured the essence of Kiss live on stage and the excitement, not only with the band on stage, but the Kiss Army, the fans. There's a lot of photos that have pictures of our fans in there too, and that's a very important element.
I have a question. Is it the largest book ever produced in size?
It's one of them.
You know, we're told it might be, but we're making no claims. It doesn't matter. This is impressive anyway you look at it.
Right. But they said it's the largest in a mass-produced book. The company that made this book, they actually have made the biggest single book in the world. They made a copy. They showed us the pictures.
I'm having one
And
made.
Jane's having one made.
It's literally about 15 feet high.
How much does it weigh?
This book?
This book weighs about 45 pounds.
It's about 40 pounds. I've heard that in terms of a book made in quantity, this is one of the biggest that's ever been made.
Right.
What's
your favorite picture in there?
Much bigger than the Helmut Newton book, which was, you know, a book that really set the bar for a while.
They're gonna be at Cliff Notes.
Ah,
Any Cliff Note plans, guys? No?
Paperback.
Why did you decide to make it so high-end?
Because the quality was important to us, and if we didn't make it so high-end, we would be compromising it. Part of what makes this book special is the quality of it and the size, and there was no way to do that without excluding some people and also celebrating what we think is worthy of that kind of price. You know, putting something out that celebrates 40 years of victories. You know, this is like a celebration and a victory lap. This book is something that means a lot to us.
Could there be a smaller version later, much later, or one day?
I already made the joke and you missed it.
Hey, considering you look at it as a victory, what were your battles? Any big battles that you won, considering this is a big victory?
Well, this is very important. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. You guys have had a career for 40 years and still going, incredibly successful. What do you say to bands?
Looking good, don't you think?
And looking good. I'm digging the big hair. I got the big hair too. So, what do you recommend to bands that are performing at places like Troubadours or Painter Player places here? What do you recommend?
Quit.
It's impossible.
Yeah, the industry is in such shambles that if you're doing it for any other reason except because you must, if it's your quest, if it's something that you have no choice except to pursue, then great. But if you have any second thoughts, or if you're doing it to succeed or make money, give it up, because the chances of that are slimmer than ever. And most of the record companies, except Universal, recently resigned. Most of the companies are just in shambles, whereas Universal is ascending, the phoenix rising from the ashes of the music industry.
Signing with Universal, does that have anything to do with Destroyer Resurrected, which comes out today?
Very
Very good.
Wow. Good setup.
Universal has our catalog.
Right.
And they made it very clear that they wanted us back
Okay.
and loved the album, and you know, good intentions and all of that is terrific, but they also came up with good cash, which is another way of showing that they believe in what we're doing. You know, talk is cheap, but when people put money on the table, it shows that they truly believe. And we brought something to the table where they said, yes, we want this. And
Okay, here's how it happened. This is
yeah, in other words, ignore what I said.
superlatives and hype. We sat them down, said, we have nothing to say, listen to the music. This is exactly what happened. They listened to 4 or 5 songs. We're going to do this again today. We're going to show them the rest of the record. Blown out of the water. We got to have this record done. And that's really how it happened. It really started with music, which is the way it started in the beginning. It continues today. We've got to have the songs. It's nice to have the firecrackers and the popcorn farts and all that. If the songs aren't there, we have nothing. We're really proud of the songs. And Universal loves them. That's why we're in business again.
You guys have always been philanthropic. Is there a charity aspect to this as well?
Well, we just went downstairs and all signed the first book. Right here.
This one.
That one. Yeah, I'm sure, but I mean well. And that's going to Wounded Warriors. The last tour,
Woo!
the last tour, $1 of every ticket went to Wounded Warriors Care Project. And we started off this tour and mildly contributed, gave $100 grand to those poor victims that were shot up in Colorado. Remember, there was a bad man there. 250 grand to Wounded Warriors Care Project. We don't call press conferences every time we try to do good for people, but it's clear our heroes don't live in comic books. They wear the military uniforms of the United States of America, and we owe it to ourselves to honor them, and we do.
Thank you.
Woo woo! Any input from past members?
I'm sorry?
Any input from past members?
Ace loves the new album.
What about the book?
The new Kiss album. What about the what?
What about the book? Any input from the past
We
members?
really haven't been in touch with them, and, you know, it's like you have great memories of former girlfriends or whatever, but it doesn't mean you want to spend time with them. You know, the trouble with getting back together with certain people is you remember why you got separated. So, you know, we wouldn't be here today without them, and we couldn't be here today with them. So,
Proud, and every bit as important as we are in the formation of the band. That's the past. That was then, this is now. I would not be on stage with anybody else except these three guys. The joy, you know, and we don't use words like that often because it doesn't really ring in newspaper accounts and stuff, but we actually have a lot of fun. We have the time of our lives, and we take great pride in getting up on stage and living up to our motto. Before we get up on stage, what do we say? You wanted the best, you got the best. Tighten your asshole, hold them spoiled. You got the best, this hottest band in the world. Gotta be proud of that, and that's what we have.
Is there any bands now that are out right now that get the KISS stamp of approval?
I think that what we think of bands, you know, specific bands, is irrelevant because the public ultimately decides, as they did with us, what is good and what isn't good. You know, it's like food. Nobody can tell you good food and bad food. What you spit out is bad food, whether somebody else likes it. So as far as music goes, the only person out there who's really spectacular and making a statement and will stand the test of time as an artist is Gaga.
Wow.
You know, Gaga leads the parade and everybody is following her. Outside of that, Dave Grohl, you know,
Yeah.
from Nirvana forward, I mean, he's really set the bar. Foo Fighters are terrific. And then there's a lot of bands who look like the delivery boys from Domino's. If that's what turns you on, God bless you. We believe in entertainment. We believe in great music. We believe that music is the core of everything. But when people come to see a band, they should see something. Otherwise, stay home and listen to the music. When you come and see us, the reason our tours are still successful in an economy where most people are suffering is because more than ever, people need to know that they're getting something for their money. And with us, absolutely. On the beat tour with Motley, there's a no-fly zone over the amphitheater because I've never seen so many fireworks and you know, bombs going off. We're very proud of who we are and our legacy.
Do you think that KISS fans will have an opportunity to see this at a, you know, $4,000 a book, 1,000 copies? Do you think the true fans will get an opportunity?
Well, look, there are car dealerships everywhere in this city. There's a Rolls Royce dealership. Not everybody can buy it, but it's a Rolls Royce. So, you know, life gives you the opportunity to buy what you can afford. Monster, the book, is not for everyone. It's a quality product, it costs a lot, and the price is what we set it to be. You can argue all you want, why don't you sell a Rolls Royce for $3,000? You're in the wrong car dealership.
It would be unfair to the people who can afford a great book like this to compromise it or not put it out because of somebody who can't afford it. It's an unrealistic attitude and it's an unrealistic way to go about pleasing people. There's something for everybody, and you know, it's like you can buy a first-class ticket on the airplane or you can get the economy ticket. We're all going to the same place ultimately.
Thank you.
Do they come in those anvil cases that we see? Is that how they're shipped to people?
We were thinking about all those sorts of packaging ideas and actually loved the way this looks by itself and didn't want to sort of wrap it with too much accoutrement. That's for our French fans. So it is the way it is. Oh, thank you very much.
I am God.
So, no, we're not doing the anvil thing, maybe for the box set.
Last couple of questions, please.
Are you really going to cut it off at 1,000?
I'm sorry?
Are you really going to cut it off at 1,000?
Cut it
Perhaps for each country, yes. How many countries in the world are there?
Licensing comes into play. Genius.
No, it's not that. It's just, look, The fans have been clamoring for this, something really special that they could put on their coffee table. Well, it is the coffee table, as Paul says. Something that says this is more than a band. It's how we always envisioned ourselves. Songs, bigger than life stage shows, bigger than life anything we do. If you want this book in your home, you put it right on the coffee table book. You don't have to put anything up. It's the conversation piece that stops everything. That's what we wanted to accomplish. People often think it's, we're geniuses and licensing and merchandising and all that stuff. It begins and ends with songs. It really does.
What about Kissology 4? Any word on that?
You know, we're so inundated, and the plans just keep going on for what we're doing. In some people's minds, the coming year is the 40th anniversary of the band, so we have that to celebrate. We're on a world tour. Once we finish a big tour in the summer, then we will be going out on the Monster tour. So there's just so many things on the horizon that we don't want to do anything unless we can keep our hands firmly in it. Because when we lose control of something, it stops being a kiss.
Right, so Kissology 4? Yeah.
Kissology 4, yes.
Will there be a follow-up single to Hella Hallelujah leading up to Monster coming out in October?
We don't know what the next track will be, but we're blessed that we've got 12, which are all candidates, and the 13th, which is the bonus track, which some people say is their favorite song. So we're in an enviable position with this album. And
is it safe to say you guys are bigger than the Beatles officially?
No.
Can I get a high five?
That's rarefied air up there, and anybody who compares themselves to that is a fool.
Thanks ever so much, everybody. Unfortunately, the band have to go now. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for the dialogue.
My apologies for Bobby for putting on the fake British accent. I don't know where the fuck he got it.
The band, no outside writers.
Because ultimately, anytime you involve outside people, you're diluting what the band does. And you're also leaving some loopholes for people to not do their job. And it was important to me, and basically a deal breaker in terms of producing the album, that the band wrote all the material. When you have outside writers, it kind of means sometimes that you don't have to do any work. You have somebody else write a song and you slap your name on it. So it gives you the ability to go off and do other projects when you should be taking care of your home. So I wanted to avoid those kind of pitfalls. So I wanted to make sure that the band was cohesive and a unit that was focused on making a great album.
The other thing that's really important, really important with Sonic Boom, and particularly with Monster, Paul's producing it, and one of the most important things, in my opinion, that he did so well was selecting the right songs that really fit together to make a statement as an album. There's been a lot of Kiss albums and a lot of records that we all know in our collections that don't have that necessarily. You listen to one, I like that one song, but this next one doesn't seem to fit. What's that all about? It's confusing, and he was very adamant about making sure that these songs fit together so well, and there was no compromising on that. Because when you have different, even in the band, we're writing together, but sometimes somebody might have a song that, here's an idea, and it's not quite right, and he was very adamant and very focused on making sure that happened the right way, which is very important, which makes a great record in the end.
What's your favorite song on the album?
I love them all.
Yeah.
Long Way Down is great. Wall of Sound. They're all great.
What's been the most rewarding part of putting the book together for you?
Really celebrating the history of the band. When you realize that it's 40 years on, to look at some of those pictures, I get to look at them not only as a member of the band, but as a fan. And I'm proud of what the band has accomplished, not because of me, but because we stuck to our guns and we did something that we believed in, and it is timeless and it is as valid today as ever. Interestingly, when we first put out our first album, a lot of the critics said this is trite, it's juvenile, and what they considered to be great music were bands like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and things like that. And the truth is, if you put on our first album today and put on some of the things that the critics thought were credible rock and roll today, there's only one that sounds really vital and very much in keeping with what's going on today, and that's the Kiss album, because we sing about truths, we sing about celebrating life, we sing about self-empowerment. That may seem trite to some people, but it's more timely than saving the whales, which I'm all for, but first let's save ourselves.
Yeah. Now, obviously groups like the Beatles were a great influence as songwriters that came before you, but put on a stage show like this. Who were your biggest influences that really inspired the greatness of the show?
You know, I don't point to anybody in particular. I think where it started was being a really rabid Anglophile and loving all the British bands, because they seem to take image so much more to heart than American bands. I think we had light shows here during the 60s when bands were playing, because the bands were so god-awful to look at. When you got a guy on stage who looks like he just rolled out of bed, and not with a woman, he just rolled out of bed. I don't really want to pay to see that, but when I saw all the British bands, they didn't look like they met waiting for a bus. They looked like they belonged in a band together. So we started from that premise, and then from there, it was really, let's create the band we never saw. Let's be the band we never saw. Let's put on the kind of show that we always hoped a band would do. So really, we're huge fans of what we do. We're enamored with Kiss, not because we're narcissistic, but because we built something that's based on our love of rock and roll.
Where did that title Hell or Hallelujah come from?
Hell or Hallelujah really was that sentiment that one way or another, you know, I'm going to make something work out. I think that when you have a goal, you only see obstacles when you lose sight of the goal. As long as you know where you're going, you'll get there, as long as you don't let anything get in your way. So a declaration of doing things your way and not compromising.
Are all the tracks on Monster new, or did you guys have old guitar riffs and things that you dug up from the past?
I'm a big believer that when people recycle old stuff, they should leave it where it was, because it wasn't on that last album because it wasn't good enough. And when you hear bands who are lifting riffs that they had 15, 20, 30 years ago, my God, can't they come up with anything new? That stuff sounds, it sounds dated, but not in a good way. We didn't want to make a retro album. We didn't want to make an album that you would confuse with an old album. We wanted to make a classic album. It's a different thing. We wanted to make the album we never made, not remake an album we did.
It was spontaneous, fresh. We'd sit down, throw a riff out just off the cuff. How about something like this? That's cool. And just built it like that. So it was very, very for real and no rehash stuff. I think Gene might have brought in a couple old things and pretty much.
You put the kibosh on those?
It's like, how about this one? How about no?
Yeah.
You know,
I'm just being honest about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes everybody does that a little bit, but that just doesn't work, and that's not what this is all about.
It's got to be, in a sense, like fresh ink on a newspaper. It's the news up to the minute. That's what I want, you know, a Kiss album to be. Not a recycling of, you know, something that was a reject. You know, you know, what they say is you can't polish a turd, and someone else will say yes, but you can paint it silver. I don't go with that.
Eventually.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Sooner or later, it stinks.
And you mentioned Dave Grohl and Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a young songwriter today to really find their own style, find their own voice?
The person who's going to succeed doesn't need my advice, because the person who's going to succeed is so focused and one-track minded that they're obsessed with what they're doing. It's a compulsion. That's very different than somebody who says, well, you know, I'm either going to be a songwriter or a doctor. Well, be a doctor, you know. You do this because you have no choice, because you're driven to do it. So I have no advice for anybody because the people who will succeed don't need my advice, and they wouldn't listen to it anyway. More power to them.
Did that influence you when they did their analog album? Was that any influence
Who?
on the Foo Fighters' last album?
No, didn't know about it. And probably Sonic Boom was before their album. But Dave's, they're Foo Fighters are great, and he's the real deal.
Paul, you mentioned the 40th anniversary. Are there any specific plans for that you could talk about? And also, do you still want to be doing this when the 50th rolls around?
I have, all bets are off at this point. We're in uncharted waters. I never thought we'd be here today. 40 years ago, if you told me I'd be doing this now and loving it and doing it with pride, I tell you were crazy. So what I'll be doing in 10 years, I have no idea. But in terms of the 40th anniversary, we'll do what we're doing. We celebrate KISS by continuing. The 40th anniversary is a celebration of 40 years of KISS, not the beginning of KISS. So some people kind of misconstrue what the anniversary symbolizes, and it's not a matter of putting your arms around, old members and singing Kumbaya. It's not about that. It's about celebrating the band today, because the band today is why we exist. It's not because of our past.
The books are customizable for each country. Are the photos interchangeable as well?
No, the photos and the book, the core of the book is the same book. The only difference is the cover and the dedication page, which is at the beginning of the book. We sign and date and number the books and dedicate it to the KISS Army of that particular country.
Was it an easy decision making the book like over $4,000? Was that an easy decision?
It wasn't a matter of making a decision. It was a matter of how much it cost to produce the book, and then to not wind up doing it for charity, so to speak. It's great to support charities, but not when it's just taking money and throwing it into the wind. So the book costs that much because it's a piece of art. It's hand bound. We didn't arbitrarily set the price. It's, it goes back to the same thing we said before. You can't.
Are you guys making a profit yourselves off it, or is it all going to charity? Anything above what the cost of expense?
Well, we I think our philanthropic, causes are well known. Although we don't try to stand on a soapbox and tell people, but we make our charities known, and this book is not a source of charity, or it's something that we're doing as a commercial venture, but it's priced according to the cost of goods, cost of manufacture.
It's to produce this. It's quite expensive because the quality is complete high end, and it's one of the biggest books that's ever been produced. So there's some cost that goes into that. That's a big part of it.
Well, what's special about your relationship with Gene after 40 years together? Why do you two click still?
It's kind of like a marriage where thankfully I don't have to see him naked. It's kind of,
Although you probably have, yeah.
Well, we're in the dressing room each night, and unfortunately, no.
I think we trust each other. We're very competitive, but we're a family. And I think that we know that when we disagree, it's with the best of intentions. We don't disagree just to have our way. We disagree because we're passionate about what we believe. And I think at the end of the day, history proves that this is a very solid relationship. To be friends with somebody for 52 years. Well, not quite. It's about 42 years. That's a long time. It's I always say it's kind of like a love-hate. He loves me, I hate him.
We're celebrating 50 years of rock and roll on the Sunset Strip. Tell us about your earliest memories when KISS came to Hollywood and Casablanca and those years.
I think Tommy probably shares the same memories. When you first when we first came to Sunset and went to the Rainbow, I found my new church. I I went to a place where rock and roll was held in high esteem, and there were women who wanted to shower you with goodies, you know, and you know, I reveled in it. I loved everything that rock and roll made possible, and it's always been a great town. Any place where there are billboards for albums, that was stunning to me, coming from New York, you know, being used to seeing billboards for beer or something else, and suddenly you see a billboard for a Led Zeppelin album. I said, I got to spend more time here.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Gene, being a consummate showman, what is it that makes a great live performance?
Making
They're talking over there too, in the other corner.
a great live performance really depends on who's sharing the stage with you. There is no more Elvis. You really are only as good as the team you're on stage with. And there's no better drummer in rock and roll right here than Eric Singer. He can sing. He's got a small butt. He blows up stuff.
Yep.
Levitates 30 feet into the air. You're only as good as the team you're on. And often people get too much credit by themselves. It always is and always will be a team effort.
Is there any crazy moments that have been happening on tour that you'd like to share with us?
Any crazy moment? Well, other than being 130 degrees on stage in Phoenix and practically dying.
Wow. By the way,
I'm not exaggerating.
really, yeah.
It's like unbelievable. People don't realize sometimes, and I'm not complaining. I mean, I'm glad to be up there and I love it and I relish in every moment, but they don't realize how sometimes physically tasking it can be and how demanding it is to be in KISS and do this show every day. I mean, it's literally a full-time job, but that's the great thing is that we eat, breathe, and crap KISS basically. I mean, that's what we do. It flows through our blood every day, and it's kind of our life force, if you will.
Yeah.
Everything we do, we live for the stage. It's all for those couple hours on stage. The other 22 hours of the day are all spent preparing and living up to that moment we get on stage. And then once it's done, you feel like, okay, that's one battle, now tomorrow's another one. And the great thing is, every day you get to do it again. So if you didn't have the best show, or you know, because we're not machines, some days you go, I had a rough show, but the great thing is you go, but I get to do it tomorrow and I have a chance to try to make it better. And that's the thing, I think we all treat it like holy ground. To me, that's the holy ground that we walk on when we get on stage.
Yeah.
I will tell you, must have been Elaine Kaufman. So, KISS is the hardest working band in show business, period. KISS is the hardest.
Hold on, Gene, we have to say hi to somebody important. Laurel Fishman.
Hey, Gene.
Sounds fishy to me. How are they? I mean, how are you?
That's what he always says about my bosom.
Well, right
He
now-
always looks there and then he says, how are you?
Yeah.
It's because I was breastfed too long. In fact, last
never
week
too
my mother said, get off. So
She just said it yesterday.
she's only 86. It's not. KISS is the hardest working band in show business, period. It would be great to be in a great band like U2 or the Stones. I mean, these are great classic bands. Put on a t-shirt, put on your jeans, you're ready to get up on stage. You want to be in KISS, you better be in tip-top physical condition. You're walking around on 8-inch platform heels. You're wearing, in my case, 40 plus pounds of armor and all kinds of stuff. And you got to put on 2 hours of makeup at the beginning. Even when we get back off the stage, you can't just go and relax. You got to take the stuff off, you got to shower up. It's physically just knocks you flat every day.
Well, before you take the makeup off, you have to yell at some people.
Yelling is important.
A lot of yelling.
Yeah. How is it getting older and actually being in the heels and doing all that with the makeup and everything?
You've got to train. You got to be. I mean, I love cake. You can't eat it all the time. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And don't I look good? Yeah.
Because I like cake.
But
Yes, you do.
we welcome any band that dares get up on that stage with us. That's a source of pride. Remember, we introduce ourselves with,
You wanted the best?
You got the best. The hottest band in the world. We're either nuts or we're stating fact.
Was it difficult getting any former members to be a part of the book? Tell me what the office was.
No, it doesn't. None of that matters. We own all those photos, and everybody that's been in KISS in the past is obviously proud of the history. And you've had girlfriends before, right? That's our life too. They were fantastic for the formative years, but not everybody is designed in their DNA to run marathons. It takes a particular kind of DNA in your system to look at a career that is now approaching 40 years since the first tour, and to be able to still get up on stage and have the commitment and the pride of putting on the best show you can. People who like alcohol and drugs more should be doing that full time. Just get out of the way and don't insult the fans by daring to get up on that stage. We consider the stage holy ground.
Well, you have to love what you do, and you have to love the band that you're in. There's no doubt about it. And I've learned, a lot of times we could, without getting into all the marketing and money and business, all that stuff. Okay, everybody likes making money. Everybody likes being successful. But I have learned one thing from my experience of playing with Gene all these years. Nobody loves KISS more than Gene and Paul. I mean, that's, aside from the success and the fame and the wealth, all those things, that's just stuff that comes along with it. But I know from working with them and being on stage with them, being in the studio making records with them, they genuinely love KISS more than any of even the most diehard fans that think that they know more about KISS or love KISS more. No, they don't. They don't. I live it with them every day, so I know. And I think that's important. You have to have that dedication to yourself. It all starts with you, and then you have to also have other people along with you. When you're in a, when you're in a vehicle, you all have to be going in the same. You all have to have the same destination. That's absolutely important, and you have to have the passion to want to get there.
Gene, you just put Simmons Family Jewels to rest. Why didn't you just move it out and make it KISS Family Jewels or something on the road?
You're smarter than I am. That's an idea.
Well, we actually did, I should let Gene speak for it, but, we did KISS Stereo. We kind of did something like that, but, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but for some people, that's for them. It's not for everybody to do that kind of have those people so involved in you might want to call it invasive in your life.
Oh, it sure is.
And it sure is. But some people, it's not for everyone. And you have to remember to do it collectively for a group of people rather than just your family. That's different. Everybody individually in the band has their own lives, and so that's a little bit a different kind of task to undertake, I would think. But
Gene, what was the decision making to have Motley Crue? What makes that the tour?
To give the fans more. It doesn't even matter if you like both bands or not. You're going to walk out of there exhausted. They do a very good job, very impressive show. They've gone through their hard times as well. And it's a great thing to see a band that we liked enough to give them their first tour. In 1982, we took them out. They were nobody. And it's nice to see that they stuck to it and, really developed as a band. But we're also proud, the other bands that we gave their first tours to, AC/DC, Rush, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Cheap Trick, I can't even name all of them, Bon Jovi, gave them all their first tours. And that's because intrinsically, although we're in a band, we're also fans. Mothers can explain this to you much better. They may have their own children. If they see another baby, they want to go over and they pick it up and cuddle it. Give it a chance for life. Fill it with love. When you see a new band, we've got a new band on tour with us now, The Treatment, a good sort of Def Leppard kind of genre band.
Early Def Leppard meets AC/DC, and they're really good. They're from they're from Cambridge, England, and they're brand new band, real young. And
check them out.
They're really good. I mean, they actually play great, sing really well.
Sound good.
It's a tough business, but for them, this is like an amazing opportunity for them to get to play opening for KISS and Motley Crue for a brand new band. They're like over the moon, and that's one thing I've always and I learned that from being in this band. You always make the road pave the road behind you smooth for the next guy. Don't make it rough. Just because you struggle doesn't mean, oh, you have to struggle too. You realize how hard it is. You're supposed to make the world better and easier for the next guy. And that's one thing I've learned in this band. Nobody in this band ever feels threatened by any of the other bands or gives them a hard time. Do your show, do whatever you do. Can we help you in any way? That's always been our attitude. It's like we reach out and give them a hand rather than say, hey, you're on your own. And I think that's important to do that because we're confident in who we are and what we do.
Are you falling in love with Eric?
No, not yet.
Every second, hanging on to every word. I just have a quick question. Are there photos in this book that people haven't seen before?
Of course. Most of them.
Most of them
Most
are?
of them. Now, some of the we call them diehards. Some of the people that are just into everything Kiss, that have every kind of bootleg and every TV appearance and anything that's anything to do with Kiss, might be aware of some of this stuff. But I definitely know there's some shots that they've never seen before. Absolutely.
Do you have any pre-orders yet? Anybody, big celebrities that have already
Last question.
books?
We wouldn't advertise that. This is a book for the fans. The fact that celebrities want them to is not really the point. You know, it's we're proud of the book. It speaks for itself. By the way, you should try to pick one up even before you leave through the magnificence of those photos. Just the physicality of it, putting it on your coffee table.
It's
Let
heavy.
it be sturdy.
It is very heavy.
It's close to 50 pounds.
All right, guys.